Welcome back. Welcome back to the Detroit is Different podcast studios. And I am in studio with somebody connected to two people that were very connected to Detroit is Different. Some through blood, some through like brotherhood, you know what I'm saying? And so much more in community. But this brother has some experience. We're going to talk a lot about like really this area, traveling around this area, talking about our people and much more. And as I say, we definitely going to hit into those two people that are big connected to Detroit is Different. Drew-Hundley, the Deputy Director of Michigan Roundtables for Just Communities. How you doing today?
What up, though, my brother, man? It's a pleasure to be here, man. I'm excited.
Definitely. We met in passing a while ago because Dr. Yusuf Bunchy Shakur was like, hey, man, you know, he working with us and all of these things. And we know Yusuf, and that is not a good Yusuf impersonation per se. But Yusuf, I think he's saying like, got that feel with himself and everything. But he connected us a while ago, and just more so you walking through and seeing the space. And you were like, yo, I'm already kind of familiar with this through Josh Adams. Josh Adams, comedian Josh. Josh is one of my closest friends, but always roasting me. But we got love for Josh too.
For sure.
Fam for you. As I say, two of the brothers that are definitely instrumental in Detroit is Different. And connecting that story, but both definitely speak highly of the work that you've done, even as a younger brother, connecting in community, man.
Yeah, no, that's what's up, man. Absolutely, like you said, with the good doctor, as I call him. You know, he has been my reconnection to Detroit. I know we'll get into a little bit of the journey, but coming back and not necessarily having the connections to the city, as you know, I didn't spend my adult life here. He's been great at kind of reconnecting me to all the amazing stuff that's going on here in the city, and so bringing me here and letting me see what you had going on. I was envisioning it then, like I'm gonna be in that studio one day.
Hilarious.
And then of course, like you said, my cousin, I always call my favorite comedian. You know what I'm saying? There could be bias. I don't care. I think he's the dopest brother in the city and beyond. And we spent a lot of summers together. My aunt used to babysit both of us.
Okay.
We was young fellas. So we had to get him here to tell the story. I don't want to get accused of no slander.
Hilarious.
But, we used to play Ninja Turtles. And we was the turtles.
Okay.
So that's how long ago that dating ourselves. Wasn't no toys. Like I was legit Raphael. Like,
okay.
So
all right. I'm definitely bringing that up, and I can only imagine Lord knows he's also my favorite comedian because his mind is just odd and
exactly.
Lord knows. But let's start like kind of with that. Your people to this area, the generations. I always say like how deep is your family connected to the city of Detroit?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, man. So on my pop's side, he's a transplant. So my pops is born and raised in Mississippi. He had an aunt who lived here, like the great migration north, that, the Southerners in the 50s, 60s, 70s and all of that. So he had an aunt who lived here. He wanted to get out of Mississippi, as a lot of people would in small town Mississippi. So he came here, the way he tell it, a couple weeks after graduation. Like he graduated high school and he was on his way to Detroit.
All right, so I definitely want to find out a little bit more about the aunt that was here. And I know Josh pops from Philadelphia, Mississippi. Where at in Mississippi?
Waynesboro, Mississippi.
Okay.
Is where the Hundleys are from.
Okay.
So yeah, that's not that far from Philadelphia. I've been through Philadelphia as well.
And Philadelphia, Mississippi is a very small town. It's not Philadelphia. No Wallow, no Gilly, no Beanie Siegel.
Absolutely
it's
not.
like
no Ox. Absolutely not. And Waynesboro is just as small.
Okay.
There's a Hundley Street. Just to let you know how small that town is.
Okay, but y'all got a street named after the fam.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, so the aunt that was already here, when did she get up this way?
I wish I knew, man. She had been here for some time, though.
Okay.
The way that I've understood the story, I've never met her. She had passed on before I was born.
Condolences.
But she, there was a few family members who would come from the South, and she was always the house that they would start at.
Okay.
So she almost had this feeder system into the big city where family members would come, stay with her, and then branch off and start to do their own thing, which my pops did.
Okay. And Mississippi, I'm finding more and more people from Mississippi into Detroit, but Mississippi has a lot of roots, as I always say, like the migration patterns and great exhibit from the Michigan, at the time, the Michigan Roundtable for Diversity and Inclusion,
Right.
led by almost like auntie, mom, like Love Frida.
Oh,
One
yeah.
of her exhibits just talks about the migration patterns, and so many of those migration patterns follow the train stations and the train routes. So Mississippi and Chicago are like so connected. And I brought this up even like in the movie Sinners, like when they talk about, you know, that Mississippi town and going to Chicago with Al Capone, like those connections, and Delta Blues, Muddy Waters, and, you know, Bobby Bland, and then like, you know, the Alabama, Georgia. But I'm finding more folks from Mississippi up this way that made their way this way. So did you have family out in like Chicago and all that? I always ask that when I ask Mississippi people.
Yeah, absolutely. I got a few family members. Some of my pops, like aunts and uncles, and cousins, went that way. And actually, my uncle, my pop's oldest brother, he went by way of Chicago, and they ended up in East Chicago, Indiana.
Okay.
Which, as I understand, is, you know, I guess it's pretty close to the Chicago, Illinois. But, you know, yeah, so my uncle was in that area for a while.
Okay.
May he rest in peace as well. But yeah, so we got a lot of family members, even in Ohio as well. So it's like Michigan, Ohio, Illinois.
Yeah,
is where a lot of them migrated to.
Definitely a lot of the Mississippi Black folks, you know, that St. Louis, you thinking like Memphis, St. Louis, Chicago, you know what I'm saying? It's like a whole like little feel of that, you know what I'm saying? Like barbecue blues, Black people, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I mean, it's here too, but it's just a little bit different. A little different. All right, so do you know where your aunt stayed when she was here?
No, I don't. It's east.
Okay, east side.
East side.
Okay, so she was here probably for a while.
Yeah.
And then so Pops comes here, transplant, like, yo, I'm getting out of here. I'm going up to Detroit.
Yeah. No. That's exactly how they said it. All my family, y'all from Detroit.
Exactly. The Detroit. That's the South.
Yeah.
City folk. So he gets up this way. What does he do? Where does he land?
Yeah. So once he gets up here, he starts working with the big three. I think he was working with Ford.
Okay.
So he was in the plant. He talks a lot about, you know, it always cracks us up. He got so many stories, but he just talks about that culture and, you know, working in the plants, getting all the overtime, all the hours, seeing the brothers buying the big cars, while seeing some of the other races were, you know, stacking and saving. So he said he kind of saw the beginning of some of the Arabic migration as well, where some of them were in the plants and they were displaying different habits than the brothers and sisters who were in the plants, you know, all the money they were making and how they were using it.
Yeah.
But he went from working with Big Three to straight to the military.
Wow.
So
what branch?
Army.
Army. And what era are we talking?
So this would have been mid-70s.
So mid-70s. So this is definitely post-Vietnam, but you're also looking at mid-70s. There are other conflicts that could take an Army soldier different places around the world. Definitely we're looking at a lot of really, I mean, I guess people say like the Middle East is the Middle East, but some of the foundational allegiances that like America kind of still has in that Middle East, or like a lot of that's being founded, I think, during that time in the mid-70s. So a lot of soldiers were there. Soldiers were definitely still in Europe. Was he deployed someplace, or was he just in service here?
Yeah, no, yeah. Another thing that cracks me up. My brothers and I always joke because as much time as he spent in the military, the only time he talks about is the 23 months that he spent in Germany. And so he has a lot of fond memories about that time. So yeah, that was his only international exposure, was those 23 months in Germany.
Okay, and you know, I'm guessing like the right age, right time, what's going on, and at that time, like this is part of really, as we talk about these international relations that are uplifted. America is really starting to set bases across the world, like during those times, especially past post World War II. But Germany is like such an outpost. Shout out to Ma Bus and the Bettis family, because they were there in Germany as well. So Germany welcomed so many soldiers. There's so many people that from America that grew up in Germany, having an understanding of what was really happening at that time of like, I mean, we're looking at Cold War world.
Yeah.
So definitely that East and West Berlin line, like people have a great understanding because, you know, a lot of these American troops are on one side, and then obviously the Soviet troops, and looking at like communism versus capitalism, democracy versus communism, like these fights are like right there. And that's where like so many soldiers were right in the mix of that, you know, in Germany. So he was 23 months there, and I'm guessing that definitely left an impression. But coming back, he chose to still stay in the Detroit area.
Yeah, absolutely. Came back and really wanted to, you know, spread his roots here in Detroit. And so we came back, he started to work for the post office. And so my whole life, knowing him from the time I was born in 82, he was, you know, working for the post office.
Okay. All right. So yeah, post office on, and then yeah, so he like basically like talk about union for life.
Oh yeah.
Oh boy, he went from Fords, because that's what they call it in Detroit, working for the Fords to being in the military to going straight to the post office.
Yeah, he said because they gave him his military time. Obviously, post office is a government branch, and so they gave him credit for his military time. So he said, I think that was the motivation.
Okay.
So that he would, you know, kind of get a couple extra hours of seniority.
Yeah.
For when it comes to the unions.
Okay. All right. Where was he a carrier in Detroit?
Yeah, East Detroit. Yeah.
Oh man. So I'm sure he got a lot of stories.
So many stories, man, and it left an impression on us just growing up, and you know, seeing how he actually would buy property on his routes. And so, you know, we grew up, and he had a lot of rental properties in the city, right on the east side. And they were all on his route. So that's how he got his knowledge and understanding of what was available. And then, you know, he would deliver the mail real quick and go work on his houses while he was on the car. I think he's been retired for, I don't know, 20 years now, 15 years. So the statute of limitations probably passed, where I can tell his secret.
Okay.
He was on the clock working on them houses, man.
Okay. Genius. All right. Well, hey, it's definitely, as they say, with postal work, it's other things that are done.
Yeah.
And you got to do what you got to do.
Absolutely.
You know,
I respect
especially if you know it. So all right. So he's entrepreneurial. And this is something that certain people definitely take up paths, especially back then. And today, and I mean, I know a lot of people in real estate, but things are transitioning. But definitely then, like to be a landlord and to have a job and like kind of like have a gateway, especially connected to like some of the military benefits that you may get into buying homes. That definitely does connect. So that's dad. What about mom?
Yeah, so that's a unique story. So you mentioned my name, Drew-Hundley. It's a hyphenated name. Funny enough, most people think I took my wife's last name. If there was a brother who does that, no beef, but nah. I did not take my wife's last name. She took my whole hyphenated last name. So the story behind my hyphenated last name is my birth mother, and I say that intentionally. Her name was Corinne Drew. He met her. She was from Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Yeah, she her dad lived here in Detroit. She came to Detroit. Her and my pops met. Boom, I'm born. They weren't married at the time. And then they found out while she was pregnant that she had terminal cancer. So she passed. I don't have many memories besides pictures of her.
Wow.
She passed probably before I was 1 year old.
Wow.
And so the mother who raised me is my mother, who he met and got married maybe when I was 3 years old. And so Denise Hundley, she was born and raised in Detroit. So she's a West Side girl, Cass Tech alum. You know, raised right on Strathmore. And so, you know, that is kind of my origin story, and all the memories I have is the mother who raised me. So I always say birth mother and mother.
Yes.
Because I recognize that there was a woman who birthed me and ultimately sacrificed. You know, I imagine there's probably no treatments while you're pregnant and have cancer. And so I look at it as there was a sacrifice there. Ultimately, she gave her life so that I can be a healthy young man. And then, you know, I was blessed upon to have a woman step in my life, legally adopt me, and, you know, raise me as her own. And when I say as her own, like I caught the whoopings, I ain't getting no special treatment for not being birthed.
Oh, man.
She treated me the same way she treated the kids she birthed, which I appreciate to this day. And, you know, that's one of my favorite, if not my favorite person. besides my wife, of course. Let me shout that out.
There you go, my brother. There you go. Definitely. All right. So that is a powerful story, especially like when we're thinking about at that time and we're still as people, society and healing, figuring out like what's happening, so many, carcinogens and cancer that does exist and what could be prevalent. So that is definitely a powerful story and something even for, I assume the Drew family, your father and many others, just like, how to move forward from that. Because grief, as we've talked about on Detroit is Different before, is something that does, it's something that we live with and we in living, having that understanding and honoring of those that have passed and those relationships and staying connected to that. So in that honor, definitely. It's Drew, but the Hundley family. So you already kind of touched on a couple different things connected to them, but definitely West Side, which kind of, I guess, goes back to like, do you know the roots of like when they got up this way?
Yeah. So my cousins and I were just talking about this too. So my mom is the youngest of 7, 8, something of that nature, and they migrated from Mississippi. So
wow, Mississippi too.
So my mom, it comes from the Adams. So there's the connection with Josh. Is my mom and his dad are first cousins.
Okay.
And so they come from the Adams. So they come from the Mississippi area. I don't think they're directly from Philadelphia.
Okay.
I can't call out the name, but it's close.
Okay.
And no, actually, I believe it is Philadelphia. It would make the most sense, right? And so they came up. So my mom was the only one. She's the youngest. She's the only one born in Detroit.
All right.
So I would imagine they came up in, late 50s, early 60s. So she's the last one born here in Detroit and raised up. She has today 5 living sisters. And 2 brothers.
Okay. So it was just like your dad walking on the route and saying like, that smells like some Mississippi green. Who is this?
That's hilarious. No, so the person who gets credit is we have a cousin on my dad's side, his first cousin, was working at the bank. At that time was MBD. And that's where my mom was working.
Okay.
And so she introduced my father to my mother who raised me, and they went on a setup date.
Okay.
And the rest is history.
There you go. There you go. Hookups do work. And also, that kind of goes back to some of the stories I remember because, like, a lot of my family from Florida, but definitely a lot of time in Georgia. So some of these blocks with, like, the other people from Georgia would come back and forth with, like, Georgia pecans and different things. So like, I don't know, it's just, especially like in Black Bottom, like people from certain parts of Alabama would be like in the same communities and neighborhoods, and certain parts of Georgia be kind of connected because Detroit is just so full of people from Georgia and Alabama. It's overwhelming. Yes. But like some of those neighborhoods, because, you growing this and cooking stuff and doing different things. It's like, people making grits with tomato sauce, but this just gets real Southern, but Detroit got some Southern roots.
Absolutely.
So, so in that same connection, now I guess we're getting to like that family, and the Hundleys are here. She's working in bank. Does she stay working in banking like most of your life?
No, actually, I don't really remember her working for MBD. The majority of the time that she's working, she's since retired recently, is Detroit Economic Growth Corporation, or DGC. Yeah, okay. So now that I'm in this world of nonprofit, she has connected me with resources at DGC.
Yeah.
But that's all I remember calling her at work, and she's, thank you for calling Detroit Economic Growth Corporation. So that's something that's always been a part of our, I think she worked there almost 30 years.
Okay. And if she was, I think I may know, was she like the person like up front at the desk most of the time?
No, she actually did a lot of small business loans. She worked a lot of programs with the loans for minority businesses. And she still, even as retired, she contracts with them.
I'm guessing she probably still has a lot of those relationships. So for people that don't know, and he from Mississippi too, one of the directors was from Mississippi that I interviewed here. The DGC is an entity of the city of Detroit, but it's an independent entity that focuses on like different ways that can expand funding and growth and getting business development throughout the city of Detroit. So it's a very close-knit relationship that continues to grow. I've done some business with the DGC back in the day.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So like it's one of those entities that, you're looking at a lot of the focus of how money would flow and grow definitely there. So that means that she was very aware of some of the things that was coming down the pipeline of the city of Detroit.
Absolutely. And still to this day. Still to this day. There's nothing I could say without her having some form of connection or a person that used to be involved or, so it's dope to see, how much her fingerprints have been on, kind of the development. And the thing is, like, this lets you know just the humble person she is. Because if I was in her shoes, I would have been calling in all types. I would have been at all those restaurants and all those places. Like, we never took advantage of that the way our generation would have been, putting in the call. So it was later in life when we found out how many people knew her, how many people she had connections with. She never really broadcasted.
Definitely.
So shouts out to her humbleness, but I wouldn't have did that.
That's definitely cool, because during, I guess, as Motor City matches started, shout out to my guy Mike Forsyth, but also, like I say, the former director of the DGC at the time with the Mississippi roots, Roderick Miller. That's who, like, a lot of work with Roderick. Roderick's right now, he's like the county manager for Dade County in Miami. It's like, last time I hit him up, he was like, yo, I'm down here. It's like, yeah, you running South Beach in the whole, you know what I'm saying, little Haiti and everything. It's like, you're doing the whole thing down there. You know what I'm saying? So it definitely continues and carries on. Yeah. So now I guess let's get into like some of your schooling and journey and what's that focus and scope for you?
So it's been a journey. I think that's the great word to say it. So up into 6th grade, we lived on the east side, like right off Outer Drive in Hayes.
Okay.
And so that was, one part of the experience.
You said up to the 6th grade. Okay. Outer Drive in Hayes, that's like real close to like, so you like almost like riding your bike to Eastland or all of that.
Right.
That whole feel. What was that? What do you remember about that neighborhood there?
I wasn't riding my bike nowhere. Parents wouldn't let me go that far. Not especially not by myself. But it was a tight-knit community because my father was such a connector and he's the type of person, like, he's very handy. So I just remember the neighbors really gravitating to us. He would cut the elders down the street yard, or he'd go in and fix X, Y, and Z. He was raised with carpenter skills, though he was never a true carpenter. So that made it to where I just remember having a lot of, positive interactions with the neighbors and, those families looking out for myself. And I got 2 brothers, but only one was born at that time. And so, a couple friends down the street, I remember they had this big old dog that we so scared of. So y'all got to come play with us. We're not coming down there. I just remember it being a tight-knit, close community that looked out for one another.
Okay. All right. And then up to 6th grade, that's where you at. Where do you go after?
So I was at Bates Academy, enjoying my time. And then my parents are like, we're having another child, about to be 3 of y'all. We need a bigger house. And so that takes us to Farmington Hills.
Farmington Hills,
yeah.
All right. What era are we talking?
What era?
Yeah, like early 90s, late 90s,
mid-90s. So this would have been 93.
Okay, so early 90s.
Early 90s, yeah. So we moved in 93. We had 5th grade graduation at Belle Isle. The next day, U-Haul on our way to Farmington Hills.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was Farmington Hills like for you and the family and that adjustment at that time?
Adjustment. Talk about culture shock. I had only been around all Black folks. And you drop us into the subdivision right off 12 Mile and Inkster. And it felt like we moved states away. You're talking about, 30-minute drive. Yeah. And it felt like we moved states away because it was just so unfamiliar. One, all of the land, just the houses, the land, that was something I wasn't exposed to. I had one aunt who lived in Southfield. So that was about as big as my mind went. And then now you're having, much bigger property. And then everybody was white. There was one Black family that I can remember when we first moved, and every other neighbor were white. And so it was just an adjustment. I didn't know how to interact with white people, and then all I had was what you hear from your family, and what you may see on movies and TV. So I had a negative perception of moving out there, and I thought I was never gonna have friends.
Okay, all right. So you start from there, and then also it's like being the Black person in a space with nothing but white people, especially especially like when you're not used to it, it's like almost everything can be like over amplified.
Absolutely.
And then sometimes things need to be over amplified. So like everything kind of becomes, all right, what's going on here? How's this playing out and what's happening? But Bates Academy as well is one of those, as we know, premier school. I mean, that's one of the, that may be like an elementary school that could do a class reunion and you get people packing it out.
Absolutely.
And that's where you start at this space of like, okay, I don't know where things are at, how I'm gonna be accepted. What are the things that kind of move you towards like being more open to the neighborhood, what's happening in schools and friends and everything?
I always say like a lot of the prejudice and the things that, I probably heard of, that's adults.
Mm-hmm.
Kids, until it's learned,
mm-hmm.
they don't necessarily have that same prejudice all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, the neighbor kids were as welcoming as, way more welcoming than I thought they would be. I was applying the lens of the grown folk conversation I was probably eavesdropping on.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had a neighbor who I think they lived two houses down. It was 2 girls and a boy.
Mm-hmm.
And within the first week, they were knocking on the door like, welcome to the neighborhood. You want to come play?
Mm.
And so that was the beginning of me kind of starting to meet other kids in the neighborhood, hanging with this family. It's funny enough, talk about being in the suburbs, the first sport we played was hockey. I never even held a hockey stick in my life. I'm basketball, football, maybe swung a baseball bat a couple times, and we out doing not on ice hockey, but just running on street hockey.
Yeah,
and that was like my intro. I'm like, oh, I'm in a different world out here. But it was just fun to, be around peers from an age standpoint and have them, want to integrate myself and my brothers into the neighborhood, and so that was pretty cool. And then once we got to hooping, they're like, oh, we really want to play with you. Like, you can play, you know? And so it was kind of cool to then be parachuted into this community and looked at as like, oh, this the guy who can play some ball.
Okay. Now, were you were you, it's so funny, it's another podcast, the comedian James Davis, where he talks about, LA comedians, but he talks about like, you know what I'm saying? Like in South Central, I really couldn't I had nowhere near like on the dance floor, crip walking or whatever. But when I go out here to this white college university, I was killing it. Yeah. Like, were you like good at ball like already in the city, or was it just like you was killing out there because it's like, they ain't got no game?
That's hilarious. Yeah, and the truthful part of it is it's the latter. I was just regular. I was.
You were all right here.
I was just all right. I was just all right.
Out there, it was like you was
hoop. I was Chris Webber. I was Chris Webber reincarnated.
He was like Will Smith on that on the Fresh Prince of that Bel Air episodes when he got on the basketball court.
It just started killing. That's exactly it. And I was tall and goofy-ish. I was still trying to get my legs up under me. I grew really fast, and so I was clumsy.
Yeah.
But when I got out there, I was faster. I was stronger. So it was funny because that was a positive part of it. Was I became the man pretty quick.
Okay. All right. And obviously like different sports and different things like that. Did you take to, what about the school? How did the school feel different? I've definitely had interviews with different people that go to suburban schools that are Black. Like the culture of the school is different. I think even when we uplift, even speaking about like a cast and a renaissance, I think some of the key elements that add to the quote unquote better schools is certainly the pupils get more money per funding. I mean, per student, per pupil. But the other thing that I noticed, even when I delivered pizzas in Dearborn Heights, when I interviewed my guy, because he went out to the Dearborn Heights High School, like the parent associations are like way more involved in suburban schools just due to usually the time that some of the parents can have to take off to like just be there almost like all day at the schools, monitoring it, just way more hands-on. So it just gives more intentionality, but I still think that there are great teachers in all school systems and definitely great students in all school systems. It's just like, how are the schools resourced? But how did it feel in those Farmington schools early on? What differences did you notice? What was how was that?
No, yeah, it was very different. So to your point, Bates was a amazing school. And so I think, I had to test into there. So there was rigor, for sure. But when I was there, we were on Marygrove's campus. I think it was the first year we were on that Bates was on Marygrove campus. That was my 5th grade year, my last year at Bates. I don't remember a playground in elementary school. I go out to 6th grade, go to the middle school in Farmington Hills. I mean, they got this big giant field, football, baseball, playgrounds. And I think that the investment, the resources was what stood out. The extracurricular activities, the dances, like all these things, like legit stuff that obviously took a chunk of change to be able to bring out the DJs and all the stuff that I can vividly remember. I think the education was good. I don't know that it was that much better. I do recall that Black History Month was just a much bigger deal. And I almost think it was just because there were so few of us there that the teachers wanted to make sure we felt comfortable. I didn't remember it. I mean, of course I was in elementary school, but I just didn't remember it being emphasized with the projects and all the other stuff that it was when I got to the suburban schools. But I was there was a couple classes. I was a fly in a batch of marshmallows. Like I look around, I'm the only one who looks like me. But it also created community with all the other transplants, the Farmington Hills transplants. All of us was from Detroit. So it just created tight connections immediately. Like you see another Black kid, you like, there goes somebody I need to be friends with because it's legit. 15 of us.
Which can be cool and bad, especially like, it's like, man, it's like, you end up like, you get your 7th grade girlfriend, it's like, that's your girlfriend till 12th grade. You know what I'm saying? It's like, damn.
I missed out.
It's like, I came in 1 semester late. They're already together.
Right.
It's like, they used to be together. Man, that was 6th grade.
Exactly.
It's the 11th.
Exactly.
But it's still, man, the family know each other.
That's so true, man. That's so true. I can think of a couple examples of that. Then I'm thinking about some people I keep up on social media.
Yeah.
Forever. But no, it was a lot different though.
Okay, so like in that same flow, what are the classes that stand out to you? Like, what are you taking to just as far as like, what do you like most? Like, where are you drawn in your mind in that high school age?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think like everybody, gym. I was starting to see my athleticism, so I just love the fact that I was probably more athletic than most people, so that gave me a little bit of an advantage in gym class. But academically, math has always been my top subject. So throughout middle school, high school, I tried to apply myself more, especially when I started to take school more serious. When I got to high school, like honors math and stuff like that. But I was really drawn to the math.
So it's like I always say, and I know any math instructor would hate me when I say this. So like, it's 2 types of math. It's like math that's like, that can be like theoretical chemistry equations. Then it's math that's like money. And it's like, okay, math money makes a lot more sense to me. Not saying that the other math I can't follow, over time you get it. But it's like, all right, you start putting some dollar signs. It's like, wow, this stuff just starts making sense.
Yeah.
Were you more like in the like, okay, let me think more business, money math, or were you more like just all math, bring it on?
Yeah, I think it was both, man.
Okay.
It was, the money math obviously is intriguing, but, just the algebraic. And I think at that time I was blessed with a strong memory. And so you would give me an equation, I can memorize it.
Wow.
And so that allowed for me to be able to repeat it over and over. And even, I was looked at to help my friends and help my peers out. And that grew into being tutors and things like that later on in life. But yeah, no, for some reason. And I also think it was because most people hated it. I think that made me gravitate to it more because I'm like, oh, this is kind of a me thing. Like most people are like, oh, math. And I'm like, no, I can crunch that in my head and spit out, the mental math was something I caught on pretty quickly.
You was like A squared plus B squared equals C squared. I get all of this stuff on both sides of this. Hold on, let's break it down.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
I'm with it.
Yeah.
All right, so definitely leaning into math opens up a lot of doors. Did you ever were you in like academic games and any of the other honors things?
Didn't do it. I lost. So, I think I don't know how to describe just the pressure of it not looked at as cool. I probably succumbed to that. And so I didn't apply myself to some of those extracurricular things when it was academic because everybody knew play sports.
Yeah.
So like that's where I'll stick to. So yeah, if I could go back, I don't like to change a lot, but I probably would have tried my hand in some of that stuff.
Okay.
Because if you don't sharpen it, you'd stand to lose it.
True indeed.
And so I probably could have sharpened it more with some of that.
Okay. So did you play for the team and all of that too?
Basketball?
Yeah.
Yeah. So basketball was the only sport. And still to this day, I ask my parents why they told me choose one sport and that's it. So, our parents always say the oldest gets a different experience. Like my siblings were able to play whatever they wanted.
Hilarious.
But me, one sport, focus on academics. And so because basketball was just so natural in our family, I'm way above average height.
Yeah.
I just gravitated to it. I don't love the cold, so football really wasn't something. Even though I could play, I'm like, it's kind of cold out there.
And plus, their parents was thinking like, we ain't about to be coming up to every practice, every game, back and forth. Pick one.
Exactly. And think about how busy they
every
were.
day.
They both had strenuous jobs. Pops had the rental houses, all that stuff. So they like, you need to be here to watch your brothers anyway.
There you go.
So I did play. Started in 7th grade. That's when I formally started to play. On the school teams.
What position?
Always played forward center. I was always the tallest.
The tallest, yeah. Okay. And definitely throughout, so I guess you played throughout high school. What were you thinking after high school?
Yeah. No, I played in college as well. And so, starting in high school, I always had this goal that I wanted to play college basketball.
What school did you go to? How did you make that decision?
Whoever's going to give me an opportunity, quite frankly. So I started off at Saginaw Valley State.
Okay.
So I went there my freshman year, started most of my freshman year, didn't necessarily, the immaturity came out. So I went on as a preferred walk-on. And so the only schools that like offered me to come were like Division III schools. And I was like, I don't want to play Division III. I was kind of, I should be in the bigger school. So I went to Saginaw Valley as a preferred walk-on. After playing such a good season my freshman year, I expected to get a full ride. And the coach had different thoughts because my academics were so good. They were like, well, your academics are good, your parents are affluent, so we're going to offer you a half a scholarship because there's some other players who, we're going to give this full ride to. And I took offense to it. I didn't understand the politics or the business behind it. And so I picked up and dipped. And that's what started my HBCU journey.
Okay. All right. Now, we talk about this. Ken Elkins, shout out to Ken Elkins. As we touch on different things, and Detroit is different, Detroit is different, but it's also like I always say, Saginaw, like I jokingly say, Saginaw is like the Flint of Flint. You know what I'm saying? It's a culture that you gotta like. It's gritty, you know what I'm saying? And sometimes, like being from Detroit, we think, man, what's happening up here in Saginaw? Hey,
yeah, chill.
It's a lot going on in Saginaw. You know what I'm saying? So, how did you adjust, as you said, like even that first year and everything? But like I say, it's a lot that happens in and around Saginaw, even in that small city of where things are at. Because you do have the people from Flint, you have the people from Detroit, but you also got the people from Saginaw, like. As we know, that interview that Draymond Green is even talking about, we couldn't wait to get down to Detroit and play them Detroit players. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But how did you adjust? What was that feel like, that culture?
Yeah, the Sag Nasty, as they called it, and it for sure. So one, Saginaw Valley, for anybody familiar, is not literally in Saginaw. So you still had a hop, skip, and a jump to get to the city of Saginaw. So it was separated from that. So I didn't initially get true exposure when I first got there to what Saginaw really was. But I had, people who were from here who told me like, don't go up there thinking just because you're from Detroit adjacent, that you go be running stuff like you need to be cool up there in Saginaw. And so luckily for me, I had a teammate who became a close friend who was born and raised in Saginaw, went to Saginaw, Saginaw Buena Vista. So he was kind of our Saginaw whisperer.
Okay.
He was a junior when my freshman year, so he's a little older. And so every time I went into the city of Saginaw, I was with him.
Yeah, so it was like, hey, it's time to leave this party now. Like, it's just getting started. It's time to leave.
Right. And then he was driving too, so like, all right, get in the car with him and go. So shouts out to T. Wright. So he was like the big homie. And then I had another really close friend who went to Cass Tech, Coach Cam, who run Mitten Recruit right now. So he's still involved with hoop. He was a sophomore. And so just having kind of a close connection to Detroit, the Saginaw big homie, and they looking out for their freshmen. So I avoided any negative Experiences, I did definitely party in Saginaw.
Yeah.
Hung out, went to basketball games. I had his kid's name was Anthony Roberson. He was a straight up baller. I think he went to Florida.
Yeah,
so we went to a couple of his games. So, we was kind of seeing that, but I didn't get the true Saginaw experience because they were kind of protecting me from doing something that I probably, wouldn't have a good story. Yeah,
Gotcha.
for sure.
All right, so you go from there and you say like, all right, they tripping up here.
Yep.
I'm going to just go to another spot.
Man.
HBCU, what do you choose?
Yeah, so it chose me. So I had the assistant coach. Shouts out to Coach Cove. He's currently the athletic director for Pontiac Public Schools.
Okay.
His younger brother and I was playing in a league together. He tells his brother about me. Tells me about the school. The school's called Knoxville College. So talk about small town, like Hillman, small HBCU. It was in Knoxville, so it's probably a mile away from University of Tennessee. But this is a very underfunded HBCU. The head coach was from Detroit. The assistant coach was from Pontiac. So they were bringing as much Michigan talent as they could down there.
Okay.
And at this point, I just wanted to hoop. I didn't really think through it. They were the first school to call me.
Yeah.
So my mom and my aunt took a visit, and I committed on the spot.
Okay. Now you say like smaller school, HBCU. I'm thinking like it's probably like a smaller campus and a lot of that going on. What was the academic experience there? And then just what was the culture like?
Yeah, it was so here's some context. Like they struggle with accreditation. And so, in hindsight, probably wasn't the most wise decision to go to a school that was struggling with accreditation. I'm thankful I did because of what I learned, the experience I learned.
Yeah.
So, it's a private school, so it's gated. So if you imagine that, and a lot of the buildings were shut down. So this school used to thrive in the 80s and 90s. Lost funding, lost the student base shrank. So they didn't even have all the buildings open.
Wow.
And the academic, quite frankly, it was easy. Like I shared, I started to lean into academics.
Yeah.
I don't know that I saw a B. If I would have to go look at some transcripts.
Yeah.
I don't know that I saw a B because at this point I was, pretty in a good rhythm as a student, and it wasn't as much rigor as Saginaw Valley was.
Yeah.
But, the teachers cared, small classes, the teachers cared a lot. So I just remember that connection with the professors that I didn't have at the PWI.
Yeah.
But as far as how challenging it was, I was able to kind of skate through that pretty easily. And I think where I got my true education was like the lack of resources. Like our dorm didn't have hot water for the first semester.
That is, cold showers are something different.
It's something different. So imagine this, I would go to the gym in the locker room and take showers and then walk back to the dorm. Like that was the experience. That this was the athlete dorm. I do air quotes because, only every other room was even operable because of all, they just didn't have a lot of funding.
Yeah.
But I was there for 2 years. It taught me a whole lot,
Okay. And then after those 2 years, where do you go?
Yeah. So, man, you really getting into it. I don't even know if I really have told this story fully. So 2 years in, at this point, I'm realizing I'm not going to the league.
Yeah.
So now I need to really focus on my future, because I had those rose-colored glasses, like I might make it to the league. I'm 6'6" and I can jump high.
Yeah.
And then I realized like you're not even the top 5 best people on your team, bro. Like, you so like figure something else out. And so at this point, I'm like, I can't continue to go here to this school that has no accreditation. At this point, the accreditation is fully lost. And so same Coach Cove, he gets a job at Barber Scotia College. Anybody familiar with Barber Scotia College? It's in Concord, North Carolina. It was a team we played against every year. So that was kind of like a rival to Knoxville.
Yeah.
But he gets an assistant coach job there and takes a group of us with him. And so I, transferred over.
Now this is, these transfers are like before, like transferring now is different than transferring then. Like transferring now is like the transfer portal. You can go right on, you can walk right on and everything's good.
Yep.
Back then it was like, you'd almost have to like wait a semester, and it was very tough for a player to transfer.
Yeah.
And that's just at school athletics, let alone just the academics of transferring. If anybody's ever transferred credits, it's like, when it's like, they always talk about Army recruits sell you on big things. Like the college recruits like, oh man, you can go wherever you want, right? And then you got like all these credits, and then it's like, we'll take about 10 of those. And you be like, 10?
Exactly.
What are you talking about?
Bro, you could write my story based on that, and that's just everyone's story who's experienced it.
Yeah.
So that's exactly it. So the good thing was the rule back then. So Saginaw Valley's Division II, Knoxville's NAIA. If you go down, you don't have to sit out. So if I would have went across or up, I would lose. If you go to Division II to Division I back then, you would lose a year eligibility. Not just have to sit out. You could lose a year.
So do both. You're like a year you're sitting out and
you lost, only could play 3 instead of 4 or whatever it is. So since I went down, I played immediately. And then when I went over from Knoxville, so this is 3 years of eligibility down. I got 1 more year eligibility, maybe 2 years of school because of the transfer. Go to Barber Scotia, Knoxville will not release me. So back then, the school that you leave had to release you.
Interesting.
They wouldn't release me. They were. It was just some spite because this coach took all these players with him. And so I never got released. I never stepped foot on the court.
Wow.
For Barber Scotia, but I still love this coach to the day, Coach Stinson. He gave me a scholarship, part academic, and then part athletic to be a student assistant.
Okay. Wow.
Yep.
Wow. So shout out to Coach.
And so I went to Barber Scotia for 1 year. They lost their accreditation. So this is 2004. They lose their accreditation. So it happens back-to-back years for me. Almost like it's me, right?
Yeah. It's
so
like, what?
I'm the accreditation killer.
Here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I never played for Barber Scotia. I leave Coach Stinson and Coach Cove again. I probably owe him a call because he is a part of a lot of my story.
Yeah.
They go to Livingstone College. Which is also in North Carolina. It's in Salisbury, North Carolina. It's an AME Zion church, maybe an hour and a half north of Charlotte. I leave and go with them. So I'm my 4th school, my 5th year. At this point, I'm tired of school, man.
Yeah, I was thinking to myself, like, you tired of school. You also, this is what's so interesting about being that age, too. It seems like, and in some ways, that pressure, because I know this is like early 20s, like that pressure on you of like, making whatever you're going to be the success, it just gets exhausting, like just coming home and telling, your aunts and uncles and your parents this story of this, that, and the other. And then, family just look at you and like, figure it out. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, this is exhausting just saying it.
It is. I wasn't even coming home at this point. I was just staying over the summers, getting a job. I think, the one in hindsight is probably to avoid. Where are you at now?
Yeah.
Wait, what happened?
What's going on?
And that's usually the story for bad students, not 4.0 students.
Yeah.
But that was it, man. So I went to Livingstone, and that's where I graduated from. I only went there for 1 year.
Wow.
You had to have a certain amount of credits to graduate. So I like loaded up my semesters, and I only got 1 left in me.
Wow.
So I loaded up my semester. I think you needed 32 credits, so I probably took 18 credit hours.
Wow.
Each semester.
Wow.
Just to get out. And so this goes back to the fact that I was already a really good student. So it was just about applying myself. And I just live, breathe, eat. At this point, I had no more eligibility. I transferred too many times, so I couldn't play. Again, I was a student assistant coach. So that was my connection to basketball.
Yeah.
But at this point, I couldn't play anymore, so I would practice and then coach and then go to school. And that's how I did it. And they actually didn't accept all my credits, so I had to test out of the classes I took in Knoxville. So throughout that year, in addition to my credit hours, I was testing out of classes. I would go to, it was wild, man. I could probably write a book on that experience.
Yeah, but that's like laser focus to get through.
Laser focus.
So you get through, and you're in North Carolina now for a while. And other travels, and really, I guess, like, first you're like, hell yeah, I'm through. But where's your frame of mind and reference now with the degree?
So I get my degree in business administration, and I remember I went to a job fair and met this finance company called Vanguard. So a lot of people may know from their 401ks. It's a mutual fund company. They have a large location in Charlotte. So they offered me a job before I graduated. I hadn't even finished testing out of all these classes yet.
Wow.
So I had a job offer staring at me. And I'm like, I got to get out. You know, like it's time to start working. You know what I mean? Like all this stuff is just so crazy, and I'm ready to. I'm rushing myself to get into this adult life, which you know somebody would have got in my ear like, "Slow down, big fella! Like, don't rush to the adulthood." But I was just trying to get out of school, and I had this offer for the time felt like a lot of money. It's $30,000 to start on this job, and I'm like, I can't wait. You know, like I can make $30,000 of my own money. And so I did. I laser focused, locked in, got through all the classes, and I started working there June 20th, 2005.
Okay, and also framing this so people kind of get an understanding of Charlotte. I got family in Charlotte too. Shout out to Ray and Mel. But Charlotte becomes, especially like early 2000s, and especially where things are now, a hub for definitely a lot of finance industry. And some medical, but you know, medical is popping up across the nation, but definitely a lot of finance is coming and money flowing through that area. Like almost like, I guess, like running concurrent, especially like at the height of like when Cam Newton is, you know what I'm saying? Cam Newton. That's like a renaissance of a lot of people. Like, you know, you heard people like, oh man, we leaving Atlanta and going to Charlotte. You know what I'm saying? And that feel of like, you know, how close the cities are and everything. But so if you get there in 2005, you are young Black professional in a city, like watching it kind of populate and come to life with more opportunities around you. So I just want to frame that for people to kind of get, what was that feeling like looking at that?
Yeah, that you framed it perfectly, man. I used to always tell people, growing up in the 90s here in Detroit, I felt like I was watching our city crumble. And then to now go to this city where, you know, I'm watching, there's cranes everywhere. And that was like, I don't really remember seeing cranes growing up. You know, like it was something that it was so small to most people, but to me it was like mind blown, because I'm like, there's cranes everywhere. I don't recall cranes because there was not much being built up in the 90s growing up here. And so it was amazing, man. I started to meet people from all over the place. To your point, Charlotte was a huge transplant city. So people were moving from all over the place. All of the HBCUs that surround North Carolina has the biggest population of HBCUs. So just a lot of young Black professionals filing into Charlotte. And so I started to build a huge network of just Black excellence, you know, and it was dope. It was super dope. I honestly, and I hate to say it now, but it's the truth. Like, I'm never going back to Detroit. Like, I'm good.
That was the thought process.
That was my thought, because at that time I just didn't. I didn't have the foresight that Detroit will thrive, and you know, of course, there's a lot of conversations around it, but I didn't envision this Detroit. And so I'm like, I'm never going back there. Like, this is home for me. And so I put my roots down.
I mean, many people, like, especially my cousin, like, people like in 07, 08, 09 was like, you are crazy. You need to come to Charlotte.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Absolutely. And I also think that, I think Atlanta may act like they take kind of part of this culture, but I think like some of that brunch and day party culture kind of starts there as well.
The CIAA. If you're familiar with the CIAA, is the Division II basketball. So Livingstone, where I graduated from, is part of the CIAA. It's a conference of schools, HBCUs, Johnson C. Smith University, Winston-Salem State University, you know, Virginia Union, Virginia State, so on and so forth. So they would have this huge tournament in Charlotte. And that was the first time I ever heard of a day party. So you're talking 05, 06. No, it started 06. 06. Like a day party. Like, wait, we going to kick it at noon? And, you know, and the brunches and all of that stuff. So that was the first time I had ever been exposed to that. And that was way back then. And it started to explode to the point where it was bringing the city millions and tens of millions of dollars every year. Last week of February.
I was going to say, like I say, I mean, that was the first time I ever heard of it. It was like, we about to go out. And it's like, go out. It's like 1 o'clock.
Exactly.
Like,
exactly. I'll have homies from here come stay with me and kick it during the CIAA parties.
Okay. All right. So like, as you're seeing this and you're kind of connecting, also different things are happening. This is definitely before the crash, because obviously finance takes one hell of a hit.
Jeez.
08, 09, 10, were you already kind of, before that crash and you're in this space with finance, securities, things like that, and people moving around, especially like a lot of people who were getting money in real estate. Were you before the crash, did you see something possibly coming that would lead to something like that? And then after it, what was the response of you and a lot of the people that you knew in that space?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I definitely didn't see it, but working in one of the largest, if not the largest, mutual fund company, there were the economists and people who were in strategy who were warning against the bubble popping. And, so that was a lot of the white papers that we would have to read to be able to communicate. So I was in client services. I would talk to people about their investments.
Yeah.
So we would have to at least have knowledge of like, well, there's a lot of things that point to maybe going more safe with your investment strategy. There's a lot of volatility in the market currently. And
you may want to switch more to bond.
Exactly. Bond, the inverse relationship between stocks and bonds. So I used to educate people on all of that kind of stuff. So I do recall before the true bubble popping that we would get classes and little videos to trainings to watch to be able to talk to people when they bring it up. Like we didn't want to stir any energy around it, but if someone brought it up, you had to be able to respond to it.
Yeah.
And speak to it. So yeah, definitely. Then the response, I mean, it was tough, man. It was tough to work and to work in investments. I talked to many people who were near or at retirement age who had lost it all.
Yeah.
And they're calling and they're beside themselves, and like it's real life. I'm young 20s. And my parents, they had my father made some great choices, sold off some real estate before everything happened. So they didn't get hit the way that most of the country got hit. So it wasn't like as personal until I started to talk to these clients and hear, some of their experiences. And I'm like, whoa, like, you got people who were willing to take their lives because of all the stuff that they lost because they didn't shift.
Yeah, many people took a lot of hits, especially, and I brought this up so many times on Detroit is Different. And I know it from my dad being a CPA and, helping and assisting with, clients over the years. But a lot of the housing stock, even here in Detroit, like it's a viewpoint I think that they media has not dominant media has pervasively said, but like they try to make it seem like, oh, these houses were just, since the rebellion in the 60s been messed up. Nah, a lot of these communities really flipped during that crash because so many of the people over here were hawking their house, meaning like they were refinancing properties that they already owned. And it's also sad that at the time, Rock Financial, which now is Rocket Mortgage, but Rock Financial had a lot of those refinance loans. I mean, just like we're, calling people, and I get sometimes the letters in the mail, but it's like at the time in those rates, especially like 06, 07, 05, like it's like, okay, we can refinance a house that you already own for this percentage and you can get this much and you ain't got to pay it back for 10 years. And it's a lot of elders that lost their properties then.
Oh yeah, very pervasive. Very pervasive.
And that changed the community more than, I think the crack epidemic, a lot of the other stuff in my life that I've seen as far as like, where Detroit goes from a majority home ownership class to like what becomes today, where now we're about 50-50 and maybe more renters, and it's definitely going to lean more into renters moving forward. This is just a Kari Frazier viewpoint. I think that home ownership is going to become more and more of a luxury for any American just moving forward.
It's real.
So you're in this and you're watching it as things kind of transitioning, but what's your thought process now as far as like being in that industry? I'm sure it kind of spreads out some of the people that are in that space.
Oh, absolutely. It does. And, you said that Charlotte was kind of a finance, so it was considered the second largest finance capital after New York. So like at that time it was Wachovia, which turned into Wells Fargo, Bank of America, all these had headquarters there. Fifth Third had ended up moving for a little while. But you started to see, the industry itself was still there, but people were losing their jobs. People were spreading around and stuff. But I started to grow like a little antsy with it. You know, it wasn't my choice. Like it was somebody gave me. I told the story. Someone gave me a job offer. I'm like,
You
sweet,
took it.
I got a job. I ain't even graduated yet. But I started to get other interests, and so it was a super pivotal moment in 2009. So this is the world is going crazy. People are struggling. The United Way in Charlotte had a partnership with the company. They would loan people to work for the United Way. So you still be on Vanguard's payroll, but you're doing fundraising for the United Way for 4 or 5 months. It's called a loaned executive. So I had to apply and get hired, interview and get hired to do this job. And it changed everything for me as far as my career trajectory, learning about myself, but also it exposed me to working poor. It exposed me to how much need was in the community because I'm fundraising for, at that time, probably one of the most popular nonprofits, which a fundraising arm for other nonprofits. So I was just getting all this exposure into what was going on in the community. Go to XYZ. I can't remember the name of the nonprofit, but they used to help people with bills if you were, your heat's about to get cut off or something of that nature. They would help you with it. So I'm volunteering. You seeing people in suits in line because they need to go to work after they get, and so that's when the face of those in need shifted a lot for me. And I started to understand we all one weird situation away from being right there in that line.
Especially when we think about a lot of the debt that most Americans carry. I mean, I know we're talking about homes and home ownership, which that's very key because technically, now I'm really getting into my nerd business finance stuff, but paying for your home should be somewhere between 20 and maybe 33% of whatever your monthly expenses are. So many Americans are outside of that. And when I say home, I mean everything. I don't mean like home and then you got your utilities and then you got your insurance. I mean like everything that gives you your abode other than food should be 20 to about 33%. Most people are probably spending maybe 2/3 of their income. And that's possibly like a better position than most. I mean, when we're looking at like even, a 1-bedroom here that they say is affordable is like $1,750 a month. And that's like, you know what I'm saying? And that's like with assistance from the state as it's decided by these other factors through HUD and national statistics that make up what quote unquote affordable is, right? So that's that. But really a lot of that debt, as we've seen the health industry like become the lead industry in America, it's that like one health medical emergency can knock a lot of people down to like
nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Yep.
Yeah. No, absolutely. That's so true, man. It's sad, but it's absolutely true.
So you're interacting and you're seeing this, and this is opening up your eyes to say like, okay, I want to be in a space of more giving and being more present for community.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it also taught me like, I didn't have a lot of money. I just told y'all my first job was $30,000, but I started to be introduced to the concept around time, talent, and treasure. And like,
break that down.
So that you have some time to give that may be different than your treasure. So the treasure is the money. But these nonprofits, especially at this time, when I was introduced to the nonprofit community, they had to cut their workforce, so they didn't have the same amount of investment into the ancillary things you need to make a strong nonprofit. So your time and your talent was as important as your treasure. And so I started volunteering more. And then also, I love public speaking. That was something I just started to take a liking to. I'm a facilitator and things of that nature. It's like, well, come speak on our behalf, And so I realized that I could use my voice to help. Maybe I can't donate $1,000, but maybe I can make an ask and motivate others to do it.
Yeah. And then also, as you talk about like that time and talent, it's one of those things of the argument. It was an interview I just even had. Like, it's a lot of people. I know Yusef is like, yep, because that's capitalism. You hear him saying that. We always had a capitalism debate. Because I say all these systems are like going towards, I guess he would say white hegemony, but I still say like a lot into white supremacy because it still seems like, whatever the system is, socialism, communism, you see like whoever the black folk is at the bottom, no matter how we look at it. But Kari thoughts. But with this, high unemployment creates a condition where now a very skilled worker is just happy to get anything, A, and B, you're getting you're going to get a skilled worker to work less than, but like that's for like a place that has the resources. If you don't have the resources, you're going to lose any of that talent that you could have. So like someone with your talent that like kind of knows a lot into like what percentages could be in margins and like really looking at like helping a family that may need some assistance going through like, I don't know, a mortgage statement or something like that, or like setting up to make sure that they're negotiating terms that they could keep for, it could be like a good opportunity like credit unions offer, but you know how it is, a lot of people like, yo, I just need it, I'm signing whatever. But like your experience to come in and say, hey, hold on. You know you ain't gonna sign this. You know what I'm saying? Someone of your experience, it may be tough to get into that position, but if you could offer your time there, now they have the expertise of like, nah, let's work these margins better.
Absolutely. No, yeah, it was programs like a junior achievement. There was a tax program, and I wish I could call out the name of it, where we get like generic tax training and you offer free, kind of easy tax preparation. So I remember volunteering for that.
Yeah.
And, so because I had that finance experience, at this time I had a Series 7, a Series 6, the 7 replaced the 6, and a Series 63. So those are, FINRA licenses to trade. So I had some knowledge, even though I didn't love it enough. So I wasn't like reading the Wall Street Journal in my free time. I would read it when I got to work so that I could talk about that day. But it was, I didn't love it and live it and breathe it.
Yeah.
But I had knowledge and experience. So that's how I would volunteer, to be able to help people understand, just the basics of finances, especially kids. That's where I gravitated to.
Cool. And in this same space, now you've kind of been in that same space of giving, because like we're here, I know I'm jumping the gun with the Michigan Roundtable.
Yeah.
What keeps you so committed to this space of community and giving?
Yes, I think it's my upbringing. I was just raised by a family who always taught us to support those who are less fortunate than yourselves. I grew up in the church, and that was always a key point. And then just how my parents operated. My father, he had, all these rental houses, but these people stayed with him for as long until he sold these houses, because he was such a thoughtful, understanding. He wasn't some slumlord, and so that was he didn't go up on his rent when others would. He wasn't in it for the greed; he was in it to kind of help build community. And also, he turned into the aunt. So there was family who would, and, he would let them live in his houses when they were vacant until they got on their feet.
Yeah.
And so just seeing that and growing up in that space, it was something that was just always in me. I just, I didn't know how to exercise it until I started to get on these paths of like, you're a giver. And, if you want all the things that you're destined to get, one of the easiest ways to that is to just humble your heart and, be a vessel for others, and to kind of help support and uplift others, and whatever that looks like for you. And eventually, that'll come back on you, and you'll get the reciprocation of that, just good faith. And so that's something I always live by, is just do right by others.
Okay, so now I gotta ask, in this same journey, what leads you back to the Detroit area?
Man, that's I got married in Charlotte.
Okay.
We had two sons. So my wife is born and raised in Charlotte, which is not normal. Most people were transplants. Her grandmother was born in Charlotte.
Okay.
So she was deep rooted. She had never lived outside of North Carolina. Okay. We came up, so this is Christmas 2017.
Oh, so she came in the cold.
Yeah, so we came to visit.
Okay.
So she had been up here a couple times, but this was the first time in the winter.
Yeah, I was gonna say coming to Detroit and it's warm is different than coming in it's cold.
Cold, right? So I brought her up here. The whole family came for Christmas, celebrate Christmas with my parents. We on the shuttle back to the airport and it's like -5. And she like, bro, like, I was like, you know what? You don't even have to say it. I'm never gonna bring you, and it's a direct quote. I'm never gonna bring you back up here in the winter.
No, it's like she had a half a breath outside. It's like a whole being grew.
Exactly. And she on there, bundled up. My kids have never been that cold. Nobody has experienced this but me. And I'm like, you know what? We're only gonna come up here in the
summertime,
summer, spring, maybe a fall. I'm not bringing you back in the winter. Fast forward, March 2018, I get recruited by a company who has an office here in Michigan.
Wow.
This company is called Rivian. It's a electric truck company. They're in the early phases. It's a couple hundred people, and they needed somebody to come help kind of start off their HR learning and development functions, which was my expertise. And they made an offer I couldn't refuse. We'll pack your house up. We'll help. We'll fly you and your family up. We'll take care. So they threw a nice as a bag at us plus equity. So I'm coming from finance.
Yeah.
And you put stock options in front of my face. I'm thinking all the stories I learned as I was going through all my
people
studies.
in Google and Amazon early, and it's like, hey,
and I'm
can't pay you no money, but we'll give you some Nike stock.
Exactly.
Like, yes.
Exactly. So I'm hearing all these stories, and I'm like, I'm married to a teacher, which I love the fact she's a teacher, but that's not the earning potential ain't through the roof as a teacher. You got these two big head boys that we raising. I'd be crazy not to take a chance and then I get to move back home. So, we took the opportunity. Not even 6 months after I told her I would never bring her back up here.
Yeah.
We getting our house packed up, and we're about to make our journey back to Michigan and kind of see what this is about. We sold our house in Charlotte, and we was on our way in 2018.
Okay, and I'm sure that was a tough negotiation, though.
It was tough, man.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Thankful to her. Shout out to Raven. She as much as I know she didn't want to leave home. She didn't want to leave her family. But this is just the amazing thing about when you find your person, and she told me, like, you'd be crazy. Not, like, as much as I don't want to move, be crazy not to take this opportunity.
Wow, that's beautiful.
And so she kind of encouraged it, because I was struggling, man. I remember I called her after the interview, and she was like, "How'd you do?" And I'm a good interviewer, and she knows that. I was like, "I did okay." She's like, "You're lying. We're moving to Michigan, aren't we?"
Hilarious.
And I was like, "Well, it's something that we got to talk about it. They haven't offered me anything." And at that point, she's like, "Look, if they offer you the right amount, we can't say no."
Okay. All right. So you come here, then pandemic hits, all types of things change.
Yeah.
When do you get introduced to the Michigan Roundtable for, at that time, diversity and inclusion?
Yeah, I didn't know it in that name as the Michigan Roundtable for D&I. So to your point, we got here 2018. We didn't get much time before COVID hit, and we kind of in our bubble. We buy a house out in Southfield, so we're close to my family and all of that stuff. I leave the company I was at, go to my old company that was in Carolina. They go back to work. I don't want to move. Fast forward, I started working for a company called Masco, and I'm leading their DEI efforts. They have a board seat on the Michigan Roundtable. And so when I started working there, they're like, "Hey, we have this board seat. You're the head of DEI.
You be the person on this.
Do you want to take the board seat?"
Yeah.
Of course, I have all of this nonprofit experience. I didn't talk about the fact that I co-founded a nonprofit in Charlotte. So it's the itch is in me. And I had never served in Detroit. All my service was in Charlotte, the city that didn't raise me. So I'm like, absolutely, let's do it. So I started to meet with the leadership. At this time, it was the past executive director of the Roundtable, my man Steve. Shouts out to Steve.
Steve is, I could do like a Steve impersonation. Steve's so passionate.
He is.
He's like, "Joe, man, I just..." brothers like you. Steve, he's so passionate.
Bro, you sound just like him, man. You sound just like him.
I know Steve since Young Adults Reclaiming Detroit, man. Maybe since like 06, 07.
So yeah. That's a good, so that impression is rooted in something. So he's called me Saint Joe. Saint Joe?
Man. Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, it didn't take that much convincing, because I already had it in my heart that I wanted to start to understand this Detroit community and how can I serve it.
But Steve's personality versus Yusuf's personality completely different.
Night and day. And I only, I guess that could be used in a couple different. Yeah, exactly. But so that's kind of how I got introduced. I went to a tribute dinner. This is 2023. Went to a tribute dinner and was like, I'm in.
Okay.
And so that's when I kind of heard Yusuf speak, the good doctor, and I was like, wow.
Okay, this is a little different than what I was thinking.
Exactly, exactly. And so that's just kind of how I started. So I started on the board. The board accepted me in, and I started my service as a board member. But my thing was like, how are you a board or something if you don't really understand the work? And they kind of fast forwarded me onto the board because that seat was open.
Because it was an open seat.
It was an open seat, so they fast forwarded me. So I didn't really get exposure to the work, but I took it upon myself. So I just vividly remember I went to view one of the documentary viewings for Redemption Road. So shout out to Dr. Yusuf on that documentary. It opened my eyes to so much. And I went to him. I'm like, man, how can I get closer? Like, what you got going on? That's when he introduced me to the Mama Akua Community House and like, come on down. We're doing this. Come volunteer. And that's kind of how that relationship started to form. Wow. But I was a board member.
That's beautiful.
But I was just like, you know what?
More connected.
You got to get connected. I want to understand, how do I sell the work? If I'm fundraising for the organization, I need to be able to give a personal story
to
about
what it is.
And so that's why I started to volunteer and try to get as close as I could to, what the organization had going on.
Okay, so from board to now deputy director.
Yeah.
Where do you make that transition?
I know, right? Funny how things work and how your journey is shaped. So as I shared, I was leading DEI. So this is my 5th year as a DEI leader. And of course, we're in the environment that we're in.
Yeah, we're in a MAGA America.
The MAGA America, right? We're in that MAGA America. And
MAGA America, DEI is like, corporations are like,
Exactly. Exactly.
We need some of them federal contracts.
Exactly.
So there we go. It's like, let's change our DEI division to the ICE division. I'm just
man, I ain't gonna touch that one, but you're right though. You're 100% right. And so I won't go into too much detail. For probably obvious reasons for anybody who's been in corporations and been unceremoniously walked out. But my role was eliminated due to restructuring.
Yes.
That's the line.
Yeah.
And so because my experience at Rivian, I led HR, I did multiple reductions. I saw it coming from a mile away.
A lot of people, just the tea leaves of like, I don't even remember that day, but like that first Tuesday in November last year kind of had everything like, well, the playbook is kind of seen.
Exactly.
If that happens, then, expect a lot of others. And a lot of that is progressive, is, no SNAP benefits, a lot of the things that we are seeing pervasive impacting our communities from the federal administration. And this is another one of those Kari things where people think, I don't know, I don't consider myself a part of any party per se, but definitely very aware of how things impact my community. But I'm also aware to the way money moves. And I guess these are some of the bigger discussions I have with Yusuf, where I'm like, he's aware. It's like, yes, capitalism in systems, but also part of it where I say like it's very extractive, but all these systems are very extractive as they were so reliant on a lot of international things that are happening. So it's like the international flow of money, but especially when it comes to just the U.S. Treasury bonds itself. So some of these things that are stopping, as much as it's part of this administration, I also call into question the value of just the fluidity and the value of so many the dollar internationally, and as a lot of other nations are de-dollarizing, and just the allegiances that are being made outside of Western countries. So it's not just America, it's like America, France, Germany, Britain, Italy, Greece, like Western powers that were so reliant on resources in, as they would call it, the global South, Africa, and certain parts of Eurasia. They don't have the same control of a lot of those raw materials and minerals that now, like, as I'm getting real nerdy about this stuff, but I just don't know if it's put into this framework, and like people blame Donald Trump in this administration, where I think some of these things were happening progressively, superseding whoever was in office, because it's a shift of a lot of other nations that have not controlled their resources getting control of their resources right now. So like,
absolutely.
It has impacts on the dollar pervasively.
Absolutely.
So I just,
that's real. That was real. And I absolutely, double exclamation point, double check to everything you said, for sure. And so, it affected me in April. April, I had that call, and it's like,
you saw it coming.
We saw it coming, and here we go. And so, of course, I had a little soft landing, and I was trying to, let me figure out what's next. Let me take a little time and figure out what's next. I don't have to rush to my next opportunity. It's amazing what will happen, and to sunset a person, in that type of position, they'll give you to go away calmly, and so, we'll read between the tea leaves from there.
Yeah.
But as I was kind of figuring out what's next, I'm like, let me still serve. And so I started to volunteer more, start to do a little consulting with the organization. It's a very, very lean team, and I could see that they needed some manpower, so that I had more time.
Yeah.
So I started to go to the Mama Kua house more. I started to go and help with meetings, observe stuff, help with certain HR functions. There's the talent treasure. There's the talent that comes out. Like, I can probably help with that. I can help review that, or I can help write that up for you, or, and so that just kind of grew into, it was very organic, to where, good Dr. Yusuf, like, I got a position for you. If you can, you can hold off until the fiscal year shifts. And I'm like, I can't hold off. Like, man, I got to get a job. I can't hold off. But the universe, the wherever anyone's faith takes them, had, like, well, no, every job that you interview for, you won't get. And, I hadn't shared all my experience, but, I'm proud of my corporate journey and the experiences I've had. And, I've worked for CEOs, I've worked for large organizations, I've been responsible for a lot of cool stuff, global exposure, all of that.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't get a job, bro. I cannot. If I did get an interview, I'm getting ghosted, like, and it's crazy to me. At one time, people were sliding into my LinkedIn DMs like I was an Instagram model. I can't even get in, and so now looking back on it, I believe it was because that wasn't for me.
I think that, and just like the shifts. I mean, in that power dynamics, I think, like, I mean, we're looking at a workforce, especially when we're looking at so many Black women that have lost so many of their jobs, like, when they're looking at things. And then this is another thing that I always bring up. Like, when they give you the unemployment numbers, those unemployment numbers are really the 9 months of whoever's listed in the unemployment rolls. If it goes past 9 months, they consider you a displaced worker. If you put the displaced workers in America in with the real unemployment numbers, and you had those figures exist, you know what I'm saying? Because I always just say, like, in my mind, it's like, yo, it's people that I ain't never seen have a job. But that's the games they play with these statistics and stuff. Even like the, what's it? The GDP, the gross domestic product. You know what I'm saying? It's like, if I play games with what 20 products I put in here, then it can look real good. You know what I'm saying? But if I had to keep the same 20 products for 5 years, then you would probably have more of a true reflection of what's happening in our American economy. And it's tough because it's people such as, like, in that same position as you that have to interact with other people. I mean, from your former position, that, like, okay, people start getting scared. And when people get scared, they get tighter with their money. And when they get tighter with their money, they're not spending more. And when they're not spending more, it triggers a lot of the things that you don't want. Hence they say that the most free thing that you can do, even like 9/11, the most American thing you can do is buy, because, like, if the money's going, it's like, okay, we can exist. We have more freedom. But they don't want people being more tight, being more reserved with their resources. And I think that definitely impacts on, like, how jobs will go, because you sometimes want to see how far it can drop so that you can get the best talent for the least amount under whatever terms and conditions you want.
Absolutely. Wholeheartedly. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head with it, man. So, to that point, it was a variety of reasons, but none of those opportunities materialized.
Yeah.
Which, now in hindsight, I'm thankful for.
Yeah.
Because there's a certain level of purpose that I feel today that I don't know that I felt in those corporate opportunities.
Well, I think purpose, and then the other thing that starts happening, that, and this is tough too, for some people in America to, like, get the framework of think of, but, like, even when people tell me, like, oh man, you do what you do, and like, yeah, this is what I do, it's taking this time, but the value is more the autonomy, not as much of the money. But autonomy and money kind of go hand in hand. And I think sometimes people think the more money you make, the more freedom you have. And I often tell people, not really, because like even, my dad's a CPA, so we had these talks, but like even like if like today, people say, oh, Bill Gates has a lot of money, or Warren Buffett. If Bill Gates and Warren Buffett call like their investor like you and they start saying, yo, start selling as many of my stocks as you can. If that starts happening at like 9:00, by the time 12, if that's 9:00 in the morning, by the time it gets to 12 p.m., the stocks will so far crash, because when word gets out that like, 1 second, oh no, he's selling his.
Right.
But double sell mine.
Absolutely.
So it's almost like even the value, I think sometimes people think that people with so many riches and wealth they sometimes don't even have the autonomy to do a lot of the things that they want to do, because to keep the other investors are watching everything you do, and whatever you do can have direct impact on what the value of the money that is, because you're probably taking so much from lending to really even what's really the assets that you have. And then when you really get into securities like that, they will go into whatever other assets you have and seize those to cover the cost of these people that lost their money. So you don't even have, and I know this sounds crazy because they'd be like, all right, what are you talking about? Warren Buffett got way more money than you. But I'm just telling you, like, this is what would happen if you really start selling, quote unquote, your assets.
Absolutely.
Some of these assets are just like assets on paper to get more lending, which it's like, do you ever really have autonomy even with that?
Right. The liquidity is not what people think it is. The accessibility of those assets is not what people think it is. It's locked up behind multiple chains.
Yeah.
Locked. So yeah, you're 100% right. And then also there's a correlation between ultra wealthy and the lack of mental well-being.
Yeah.
And though the average person don't care to hear it because you're ultra wealthy, so I don't have empathy for that. There is a huge correlation. A lot of ultra wealthy talk about their lack of mental well-being. And could you put a price on your mental well-being, especially when it manifests itself in some of the ways that people, where who knows what could happen, whether it's forming the diseases or even, having that mindset that you no longer want to walk this earth. So like that, there's a lot of connection points that, having the super bag may not be the most positive thing for your life.
Or even like, whatever level, because like I say, you don't even really, you know what I'm saying? Like the more money's at the table, it's more other interests in play at it.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? It's not like, it's not like it's just going to fall. You're not going to walk in the house one day and then it's like, damn, it's $1 billion in my living room. No, you know what I'm saying? It ain't going to happen like that.
Oh, no.
For every, like I always tell people, you know what I'm saying? The more the commas in whatever that number is, and we talking about dollar signs being involved, it's more interest at play. It changes the dynamics of all the relationships you have. I often speak to this too. Like it becomes like everything is transactional. Cause like if I know you're a billionaire, then you're going to be transactional with everybody. And even what you have, like when people say like, man, Bill Gates has the most farmland in America. Yeah, he does. So let's say everything hits the fan, right? And I'm the Bill Gates farmer, right? Right now, I'm farming Bill Gates farmland for, I don't know, let's say me and my farm company do it for $10,000 an hour, right? If America no longer like exists and, you know what I'm saying, he doesn't have the laws aren't the same and everything, tomorrow I can go to him and say, all right, it used to be $10,000 an hour, now it's $1 million an hour. What Bill Gates gonna do?
Pay the money.
You gonna go out here and start farming?
Right.
And then the very next day, I'm gonna be like, you know what? It's gonna be $10 million. You know what I'm saying? Like it becomes very transactional about all these relationships you have too. So it's tough. Like even when we think about like what it does. Hence, I definitely don't necessarily think the money is the root of all evil per se. But the functionality around how we think of it, between the accesses, what we think we can do with it, and what people will do to get it, creates a lot of some of the worst acts we've seen in humanity.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then to those people who have it, the things they had to do to get it, it sticks. You can't just wash away, not the average person, can't just wash away the memories of the things that they know they did to get to the place they are. And eventually, it's going to come back to haunt them.
Oh, yeah.
Eventually. And it's going to show itself up in a lot of ways.
And it's so tough because, like I say, because you're known and everybody interacts with you like it's transactional. Like nobody is around you.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like if,
Just for you.
Jeff Bezos walks in a room, it's going to be people that, may not ask him for nothing like day 1 or day 2, but in the back of your mind, you can't even have a regular conversation with a person.
Nope. Absolutely. 100%. Yeah. It's tough, man.
So, definitely, I know we went into spaces that I usually don't go, but it's like I
love it.
I like going there.
I love it.
So with this, man, and with that same experience though, knowing that you're taking that asset and functioning it in community, what has been usually your pitch to get people that what's been the successful pitch to get people to be more present for giving and giving to an organization like the Michigan Roundtable?
Man, that's an excellent question. And I think the idea of creating social and racial justice is an idea that because of social media, because of the media sensationalizing the things that are going on, there's a large group of people, I believe, who are interested in being a part on the right side of history. Because so many people are choosing to be on the wrong side of history, you can really appeal to people who, they just want to be able, they just don't know how, but they want to be on the right side of history because they're watching every day all of the inequities, all the decisions that are being made, to tear down the common folk and to tear down, especially those who have already been marginalized by all the systems created. You're watching this actively. And so the pitch is just really leaning into the fact that, there are organizations like ours who are situated right in the communities of need that can help you connect right to something or someone that is important to you that needs your help. And, and I think that there, some people in one ear out the other, but there's a large majority of people who are very interested in that feeling of knowing that they were a part of a solution, or at least, contributing to whatever that solution is. And so when I hear the mission of creating a just and beloved community, and kind of understanding what that can mean, it becomes easy to talk to others about this idea, and that it's going to take all of us, and for it not only for people to feel what just and beloved community, but also for it to be sustainable. Like it's not a moment in time, it's a movement. And, I think it's around appealing to people about being a part of that in whichever way you feel comfortable, whether it's your time, your talent, your treasure. So I can call back some of that, almost 20 years ago experience where, you're offering people opportunity. You can come volunteer. You can, volunteer in this way. You can, give your time in this way. We could really just use your ideation and your strategic ability. Or if you do have, the treasure to give, of course, a lot of people are looking for tax breaks and things of that nature. As a 501c3, we have the ability for you to feel good about getting the benefit when it comes time for you to, file your taxes, and you're able to say that I donated X amount to, a legal entity, a legal nonprofit entity. So, it's just a variety of angles that you could take it. But ultimately, the consultant in me has allowed for me to be able to understand what's important to you first, and then figure out a way to connect the dots.
Definitely. All right, so as we get to a close, how do people connect with you if they want to connect?
Man, you can connect in a variety of ways. Check us out at miroundtable.org. That's our website. The organization's on all the socials. I'm on all the socials. So whether it's professionally on LinkedIn, just my name, Joe Drew-Hundley, Instagram, Joe Drew-Hundley, Facebook. I don't use the X that much, but you can find me on there. It's probably not much nonprofit on that social media platform. Probably just all basketball trash talk. But I'm an open book. None of my stuff is private. I'm easily accessible. Email is right there on the website as well.
All right. Definitely love hoops. We didn't even really talk about
hoops. I know. That's another one. I got to get an invite back. Come back. I got a lot of thoughts about the hoops and the footballs and all of that.
It definitely, this whole Chauncey Billups scandal has many conversations going.
That one hurts.
Talk about money.
That one hurts, man.
All right. So classic Detroit is different. Your very first car, year, make, and model, year you got it.
Wow. My very first car was a 2000 Ford Explorer.
Okay.
I got it in 2000, late 2000.
Okay.
Here, make them up. Yeah.
Okay. Where's the first place you went when you got it?
So my parents brought it I was at Saginaw Valley.
Okay.
My parents brought it up to me.
Oh man.
I know, which was amazing. Then they drove it, showed me it, and took it back.
Wow.
And so I came back home, me and my teammate, we drove to Windsor. Do you know that Customs stopped? This is my first time ever driving.
Wow.
Go to Windsor to go kick. I'm only 18, 19, whatever it is.
Room 112 or Dime Cherry.
They exactly. They pulled us up and searched the brand new truck from every angle of it. And I'm like, this is my first time getting in it. Like, you're not gonna find anything.
Wow.
But they searched that blue Explorer from beginning to end. So I took it to Windsor.
Okay, now this is the real question that you definitely got to ask. This is tell you how teenage you were. Did y'all still go to 112 after that?
After that moment happened?
Yes.
Maybe once or twice. And, I mean, because I, it took me a while to get to 21. It was really the only option. Yeah,
I feel you. It was an experience. It was a time you had to experience.
Had to
experience. Days.
Being grown at 19, that was a special moment. Going across the bridge and being treated like an adult.
Yeah. All right. So from there, you're the DJ at the end of the fireworks. Woodward and Jefferson. You get to play 2 songs. What you playing?
Hey, I wasn't prepared for that one. I'm gonna play Renegade, J and M. It's just something about that song. That was one of my hype songs when I played ball. I don't know. I'm gonna play some kind of Big Sean. I'm gonna go with some old Big Sean since I'm here in Detroit.
Okay.
I'm gonna let Detroit get one of they own to wrap it up.
Okay. I've been playing that Charlie Wilson and Big Sean off the new one, to shine a light on me.
Oh yeah.
Shout out to him. I mean, he just did something with Babyface Ray and what's that dude? The Murder Beats.
Yeah.
Too. So I don't know, maybe that. So last question. You could always this as a native Detroiter, you could rename Woodward after one Detroiter. Who would it be and why?
I was gonna lean into my performance review and call it Bunchy Shakur Avenue, but I ain't go pander to the boss man.
Hilarious.
Man, my favorite Detroiter, I'm gonna call it Rose Weber Avenue. Two of my favorite Detroiters, obviously, just growing up in the early '90s, and how much impact basketball had in my life is Jalen Rose and C. Webb. And it broke my heart so much that they were beefed out for so long.
Yeah.
And see them back connected and rocking together, man, it warmed my heart just to see it. Like, they don't know how much, our age love to see that they boys again, and how much they doing in the community work and stuff. They did something right by the Mama Cool Community House when the basketball game with Sister Sheffield. So I saw that. I'm like, I love it. So I would name it after those two gentlemen, because that was just Detroit to me.
Man, that is definitely Detroit. Both of them play instrumental roles of in a certain era. It is Detroit, and it definitely went international.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. I appreciate you, brother.
All right. With that being said, peace.
Yes, sir.